monthly Kansas City Coalition for Digital Inclusion meeting. My name is Tom Esselman. I'm the CEO of Connecting for Good, and I'm here to officially welcome you. I can't remember who it was that said, I knew Jack Kennedy, and you're no Jack Kennedy.
Bob Doyle.
That's right, Bob. Well, the introductions this morning were supposed to be done by Gillian Helm, and I'm no Gillian Helm, but I'll do the best that I can. Thank you all for coming. We're going to have a pretty full meeting. Some of you may know I worked for many years at Hallmark, and you know, there are two things that matter a lot to Hallmark's business model: ink and paper. And so even though we are a digital organization, we still have a paper sign-in sheet just to give us some checks and balances. So make sure as it makes its way to your table that you sign your name and organization information. There is a parking validation stamp if you don't already have one for your parking ticket. And if you want to stay digitally connected on your device, note the network name and password. One of the things I want to do before I have us all introduce ourselves, although most of us I think have been here before, is just to reiterate to the group who we are, what we do. We are the Kansas City Coalition for Digital Inclusion. Yesterday, some of you either saw or were present at the City Hall where the City Council business session had introduced to them by Rick Usher, Assistant City Manager, and McLean Bryant, the Director of Policy for the Mayor's Office, a resolution on a digital inclusion strategic plan for the city. And it was pretty exciting. The mayor was there in full sponsorship, and one of the things that the City Council in full force got to hear was what we do in the coalition. So just to reiterate our mission and vision, we exist here in terms of our mission to facilitate collaboration among organizations and initiatives working to bridge the digital divide in order to maximize the resources for the greatest impact. And our vision is that every citizen household in Kansas City metropolitan area has access to the internet, the equipment needed to use it, and the skills needed to take advantage. It's really important. We want to make sure we're reiterating that mission and vision in terms of every time we get together as a real guide for what we do. And I want to take a quick break now and have everyone please just stand up and state your name and the organization you're with. So when we start here with you, Mr. Bill.
Okay, I'm Bill Mullins, and I'm with the Kessler Institute.
Sarah Bell, Literacy KC.
Kevin Durham-Hanian, Literacy KC.
Aaron Deacon with KC Digital Drive.
Rick Usher, City Manager's Office.
Dave LaCrone, Kansas City Public Library.
Kelsey Darhanian, Connecting for Good.
Michael Cremona, HEDC.
Pedro Zamora, HEDC.
Catherine Hambrick, KC Digital Drive.
Alan Howes, Unified Government.
Randy Marquez, Sprint.
Wendy Pearson, Kansas City Public Library. Sarah Wagner, Kansas City Public Library.
Scott Stockwell, Code for KC and Places of Play.
Domingo Levin, Metropolitan Community College.
I'm Brown, Denver Neighborhood Association.
Bob Akers, Basel Action Network, East Stewarts.
John Fitzpatrick, KC Digital Drive, Health Innovation Team.
Susan Norris, Echo Select.
Bob Bennett, KC Mo, Office of Innovation.
Leslie Scott, Full Employment Council.
Great, thank you all. And special shout out, Alan, thanks for joining us from KCK. You and Bob representing the innovation arms of both cities. Just to reiterate, our mission does go across state lines, and we are a model that's viewed around the country as one that even has a regional impact beyond just our city. Quick update, we do have a website, digitalinclusionkc.org. We have our Twitter handle @IncludeKC, which with the underscore in between the include and the KC. So please feel free to tweet along with our meeting. And then just to reiterate, who are the members of the steering committee that have provided the leadership to get the coalition to where it is now? Carrie Coogan, who is away today with family from Kansas City Public Library. Aaron Deacon, who you've already heard from. Myself, Gillian Helm from Literacy KC. Dominga, who introduced herself from MCC. Ina Montgomery from Urban Tech is currently taking a sabbatical from the steering committee, but she did a lot of work with us leading up to this point. Stevie Smith, Linwood YMCA, just a special shout out if you haven't driven down Linwood to see the brand new version of the Linwood Y. The grand opening is set for February 20th, and it's an amazing structure. They've got a retractable glass roof over the swimming pool, and just some amazing new health and fitness studios. And they're really doing a lot to showcase how digital inclusion goes beyond just people sitting in a computer lab. It's about the wholeness of a person that can benefit from all the things you can learn about by being online. And Rick Usher from the city. So that's mainly the steering committee leadership of the group. And now I just want to really quickly go through what we're going to cover in today's meeting. Quite a full agenda. Following me, I'm going to introduce Aaron Deacon, who's going to go through two topics. One is just the priorities of this group, some rankings that you did in an exercise at last month's meeting. And then we're going to get a special guest joining us by Skype from Charlotte, North Carolina. And Aaron's going to introduce our guest, but it's going to showcase how the work we do here is really linked to work going on in other key cities around the country. Not many cities, I will tell you. We are one of a select few cities that's really taking this work seriously and leading the way on the national landscape. And then after Aaron, Rick Usher is going to give us a follow-up on the business session from the City Council that took place yesterday and go through a little bit of a working session with us on some of the collaboration and the impact that we can have by working together. And then I'll finish up with a few announcements at the end. So any other topics that any of you are dying to make sure take place today? If not, I'm going to pass it over to Aaron.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks everyone for coming this morning. How long do you need to get Bruce ready? Do you want me to
just a
do
couple
this
minutes?
and stop? Okay.
You have easily 6 minutes.
Okay, that is more than I need, but I'm trying to fill it up. So Carrie had asked to just kind of go over these 4 topic areas again, which have come out of a lot of the work that this group has done over the last 2 years, 3 years, in terms of kind of refining the things that we want to work on, that we want to focus on, and devote time to. Really, this sort of informs our steering committee as we think about how to arrange our activities and think about the kinds of things that we can actually commit to do. So, we're still sort of in the process of figuring out, there are kind of 2 levels to this work, and one is the work of us as a coalition and what the coalition, is accomplishes as an entity. But really, we look at this as what all of us as members are trying to do. So when we look at these activities and to flesh them out a little bit more, we're talking about overcoming barriers to digital access and skills adoption, raising awareness of digital inclusion as an area of civic need and for philanthropy in the area, broadening participation in digital inclusion programs within the community, both your own and those of other members in the coalition, and then connecting people to the right programs and services to take advantage of new digital access and skills, which starts to get at some of the hoped for impact of actually bridging the digital divide. So we did a little exercise in the last meeting to get a better sense of which of these areas, number one, were sort of most mission critical to the organizations that are here. Part of the idea there is that the things that are less critical to the individual member organizations maybe become more critical to us as a coalition, to where we're assigning action, because, so as an example, the mission central question, the top ranked was overcoming barriers. More people than anyone else ranked that first. It had an average score of 2. The average score, is that meaningful? We had 30 people fill this out, so it gives us kind of a sense of where people are. So overcoming barriers to digital access and skills adoption, not necessarily surprisingly, is really the central mission component to most of the organizations that make up the coalition. At the flip side of that, the least central is raising awareness of digital inclusion as an area of civic need. So again, this isn't necessarily completely revelatory, but it underscores the fact that that's the kind of activity that we as a coalition, or that the members of the organization who do have that as a central mission need to be more active in. The second, so overcoming barriers was kind of the most central. The second was broadening participation, and the third was connecting people to the right programs and services. So that was just thinking about what you see your job as an organization. The second thing we asked is which is the biggest pain point, to see if there were differences between. So one way to think about the coalition's mission is, okay, the coalition should be doing things that the individual organizations aren't, because it's not their mission. The pain point question is sort of the coalition should be helping with things that the individual organizations are just having a hard time doing. So whether it's central to their mission or not, what is causing you those problems, and are there ways that we as a coalition can come together to help address that? The overcoming barriers ranked first still, and there's probably a little bit more work that I need to do, because it's interesting. I mean, it ranked first in terms of most people listed that number 1 as pain point, and most people, and even as an average, it was sort of the most prioritized score. But there were a lot of people who said that overcoming barriers is, number 1, most central to their mission, but number 4, what their pain point was, right? So that sort of shows there's a pretty wide spectrum of where pain point and mission line up for different organizations in here. So that's something for us to consider, and we'll kind of address this as a steering committee as we go back and think about how we kind of allocate our activities and resources to the extent that we have. We don't have a whole lot of resource dedicated to the coalition as a whole. I do want to take the opportunity to introduce a new resource that we've got, and she introduced herself, but Catherine Hambrick has joined us last week, so this is for this week. I guess this is day 5, and we'll be helping and spending some time specifically on digital inclusion for us. She'll do a recap blog post of Bruce's presentation today, and we'll get that up. And we're going to start working on a newsletter to share information. So in terms of being able to interact and share information, hopefully we'll be able to build some capacity there. So any questions on the ranking exercise and these 4 topics? Yeah.
It makes sense to me, Aaron. I feel bad I missed last month's meeting, but I knew we were doing this ranking, and to better underscore the importance of how overcoming barriers seems to be the most prioritized point of what we're trying to do. I recently read some research from Pew, and it's not brand new, but it's fairly new, that focused on surveying people who designated that they weren't online. So they classified themselves as not being online. And that's young, old. It was across age spectrum. And 92% of them said they weren't online because they didn't think they needed to be. And it underscored for me that the biggest issue, I've been working with Rick on this Twitter handle and trying to get the work we do out in social media. And somebody in the last 2 weeks, tweeted directly to me at Tom Esselman, not Connected for Good, and they said, are we making any impact on closing the digital divide? And at that time, all I could say was, I think what we're doing is we're better understanding how to understand what the digital divide is. Because to me, the idea of overcoming barriers is realizing that people don't know what they don't know. And so if they're not online, and most of them are not online because they don't think they need to be, even though it's obvious to anyone who is online why you need to be, the biggest barrier becomes how can you break down those barriers to awareness and knowledge and appreciation of why to be online. So I just wanted to throw that out there and see to what extent it resonated with anybody as it pertains to these goals that we're setting for us as a coalition.
Could you define what does it mean to be online?
What does it mean to be online? That's a good question. Just anything that involves accessing information digitally in a digital form. I don't have a precise definition in front of me, but that's the way I took it.
Using the internet.
And using the internet, yeah. So
I think it would be defined as enriching yourself with the data that you can find on the internet. You can access all kinds of stuff, but some of it's not enriching. But if you take a step and enrich yourself with it, I think that's online.
Yeah, but there's certainly all different phases of that we're trying to highlight in our digital equity plan at the city.
Interesting question. And I think there are, there's a very broad sort of, access to tools like on the internet. I would say fixed line internet at your residence. I think it would be interesting to come up with some like having an email account that you use. I think would be. But it'd be interesting to vet that because my son doesn't use email very much at all. So thinking about what those sort of, if you had a checklist of check these 5 boxes, I don't know if anyone has that. If there's a definition of what it means to be online.
Well, having a fixed line access kind of eliminates about 60% of the room where people are trying to communicate with. So I think you're right in saying that you have an email account that's okay to qualify, but if you even have a Facebook account, that's probably a little bit more trendier now. An email account.
So, I think that's the range of things that we would want to think about. Okay, it's a good question. Bill?
Somewhat different perspective. In the work that we've been doing on KC in the area of privacy and security, everybody's online. There's open data that contains information about every single individual in this country. There are simulations of the emulations that have been compiled by algorithms and databases that make choices about what mail shows up in your mailbox. And so I think that maybe the challenge at this point is between digital divide, digital inclusion, and digital equity. I would argue that the first two are behind us. That we are so massively immersed in a surround that affects us all personally, that the issue of equity is the one that needs to be on the front.
You want to get Bruce involved?
So I think that's a really good observation. It has a lot of unpacking to do, and I think we can add. I don't know what our format is to take. Topics for discussion, and maybe that's a future coalition agenda item. So there's a lot to dig into there. But we've got Bruce on the line here, and I want to. Should be able to hear you. Can you hear us, Bruce?
I sure can. Can you hear me?
I can. Can everyone else hear in the back? Mm-hmm. So anything else that you need from me, or can I introduce Bruce?
Introduce Bruce and then maybe just kind of
Put this
point that to
here.
help with the audio.
Okay.
Once you're done.
I will do that. So Bruce Clark, I'm trying to remember when we first met, Bruce. It's been interesting to watch Charlotte over the past few years that I've been doing this work. They've really been sort of a quick follower in a lot of ways. They were one of the first batch of cities that Google announced after Provo and Austin for Google Fiber expansion. And it was a town that really had a lot of both grassroots and civic leadership interest in doing some of the same kinds of things that Kansas City's been doing. There was a guy, Alan Fitzpatrick, that started a group called Charlotte Arts Gigabit, which I think was one of the first things that I'd seen. And then I went down to speak at a conference at Queen's University a few years ago around sort of how cities prepare for the digital future, and specifically with a focus on digital inclusion. It was led by the dean of the school that Bruce works at, who's no longer there. Did you go to Northwestern? Is that where Eric went?
Columbia and Chicago.
Columbia, that's right. He was really interested in what the university could do specifically around digital inclusion and how they sort of built capacity in Charlotte for digital inclusion, and was actually able to get money from the communications school to hire Bruce as a digital inclusion program manager. So, as we've talked a lot about how you build capacity to do this sort of regional convening work, Charlotte was able to do it. It's kind of funny sometimes that they sort of look at what's here and they say, what do we need? We say, well, you really need somebody who's hired to do the work. We don't have anyone quite like that yet, but you should get one if you can. Oh, great. Kansas City said we needed this. Let's go get one. So it's really great. It's been fun to watch Bruce's work and Charlotte as a whole over the past few years. And look forward to hearing from you, Bruce, kind of what the trajectory of that work has been and how we collaborate. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Aaron, for the introduction. Am I on the video, Tim? I just want to make sure that you can see me.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, good. I just didn't want to make any funny faces, and I know you guys can see me. Like Aaron said, my name is Bruce Clark, and I'm the Digital Inclusion Project Manager for the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Digital Inclusion Steering Team. And first, I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak with you today. As Aaron sort of pointed out, Charlotte looks to Kansas City and has looked to Kansas City over the last 2 years for guidance and counsel on this work. And we really appreciate the strong relationships we've had with both Aaron and Carrie, Coogan at the libraries, and a number of other folks there. So we're excited to be, I'm excited to be here on the call with you all today. First, just for the next few minutes, I just wanted to share an inside perspective of the digital equity work happening here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg. We do have some time at the end for questions, but feel free to interrupt me as we go along if there's anything that you want me to stop and talk more about. I'm carrying my talk, so I apologize. I'm going to feel a little bit of a delay until my son finishes because I can hear it in my earbuds here now. So
I'm going to mute. That might help.
Okay, can you, if you can still hear me, I'm not sure, but I hope you can still hear me, so it's much better now. Thank you. To start, I just wanted to talk about the history of the Digital Inclusion Steering Team. So about 2 years ago, there when Google Fiber was, actually when the city of Charlotte was investigating applying to become a Google Fiber city, a community cabinet had formed and was looking at what this opportunity would look like to improve internet access for attracting talent and for expanding opportunities for all. The community cabinet went to Kansas City, as Aaron had mentioned, a few members, including Alan, Susan Patterson from the Knight Foundation, and Eric Friedman, the former Deacon, and it catalyzed their view of what our community needed. Not certain, I wasn't there, so I'm not certain what exactly it was. I really think it was the work that we all put in created an opportunity through a grant back to the Night School of Communication. The Night School of Communication was endowed by the Knight Foundation, so there's a long-standing relationship. We are the only Knight School of Communication in the country. And the position was housed here at the university, but was specifically responsible for being the project manager for what is an 11 organization member steering team as of this moment in time right now. And the objective was to build a playbook. And so that was sort of the initial emphasis of all of this work. I was hired in August of 2015 to begin this work. And I really wanted to sort of talk really about 2016. My first few months of 2015 were really just onboarding, getting familiar with the landscape, meeting community partners, beginning to build dialogue, understand what is digital equity, what is digital inclusion, what is digital and media literacy, what is an informed and engaged citizen, and exploring these topics with this community steering team. So I'm going to be honest with y'all today. I think that's part of the beauty of having these opportunities to share. We had a lot of challenges at the beginning, and we still, in many ways do. So I wanted to sort of, elephant in the room, put those out on the table as an opportunity for us to have some learning lessons together. So 2016 was a real uphill struggle, in part because, as you can imagine, I'm sure as you look around the room, the diversity of organizations, all who have, obviously have a common connection with bringing you in the room, but also have individual missions and goals, objectives, and bosses, and all of those things that crowd our days and give us purpose in many ways. And we were, the steering team, as we had been convening, was loosely organized. There were no formal documents describing who we are, what we do. There was no sort of membership agreement. It was literally the will of the original folks to come together, which every Tuesday for an hour and a half, and begin to have this dialogue. So one of our early successes, just to get some good news, one of our early successes was actually just a relationship that developed between the library and our school system, between the head of technology at the library, CMS, the school system, Valerie Truesdale, and between the head of technology at our library, Frank Blair. And they were able to, in short time, find a way, basically do a database call, and move all of create an opportunity for every single student in our public school system, which is 146,000 students this year, for their IDs to immediately become their library card. And that program launched. They were able to do that. It was sort of received with wild success here in the community and created an opportunity for these students to then access additional tools outside of what the school system offers. But structurally, we still hadn't done anything as a group. I mean, these wins are exciting, and I want to continue to see these things happen, these relationships that are organic and occur just by the sort of nature of bumping into somebody where you're having a cup of coffee in the back of the room or whatever the case may be. But, around mid-July, I had presented to the groups in mid-July of 2016. I had presented to the steering team a work plan for our next fiscal year. And there were a number of items that had been drawn from the Kansas City playbook. We literally had pages of your playbook laid out on the wall, and we're looking at other playbooks and sort of doing all this digesting. I had sort of taken all this information and presented it back out to the group with some suggestions, and let's just say it was not one of my favorite days. It was a really tough meeting. It really, a lot of people in the room were not sure exactly how we came to these decisions, and I think there's always a line of what's right for Kansas City or what's right for Seattle and right for Charlotte or whatever the case may be, and personality and all of these interesting things started to bubble up. that feel connected and collectively moving in the same direction, that isn't viewed as something that's additional work, but is viewed as a part and parcel of the work that all the organizations are currently doing, and how we streamline that in a way that makes all of our partners feel comfortable and really can dive into this work in a meaningful way and produce a photo. So for the remaining balance of 2016, we went through our 6 focus areas, and I'm just going to attempt to do a quick screen share if this works. Okay. So if you check me and make sure you're seeing my screen real quick, I'm going to show.
Can you just
Well, Kansas City.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. That's just a little joke because our friend, your friend Rick Usher, had made a comment about nobody remembering the second and the race where he did it. So I always just like to rag him a little bit, but we love Kansas City. So what I really want to do is this. So these are our 6 areas of focus. And you can see on the top here the access technology, digital literacy, sort of 3 traditional ways of the digital inclusion, digital equity stool. And what we've done here locally is add these 3 additional areas of focus: standards and policy, advocacy, and opportunities. And without spending too much time, because I want to keep time for Q&A, what we did over the next 6 months of the year, towards the end of 2016, is go through each of these areas and begin just as a committee to start to say, what does it mean to our community? What would our goals be? What are our aspirational goals for access, for technology, for digital literacy, for standards and policy, both at a sort of policy governmental level, but also at a business level or at an organizational level. Advocacy, obviously, what are we going to actually do about it, and who's going to do that thing? And then opportunity was really the so what. Opportunities where we unpack into workforce development, economic mobility, housing, civic engagement, sort of the reasons that people actually want to be connected in the digital world is where we talk about opportunity. So I'm just going to take one of the slides here. This is just an example, and this is an old version. We've cleaned this up, but this is what we started with, which was, we started with this simple focus area goals that were really, throwing spaghetti against the wall. And then what we see here in the recent changes was beginning to refine those in a more meaningful and tangible way for our community. So we went through all the different here. We went through each of these areas, did this work. There's a few other charts that I can share at a later time to sort of expose that work to you. And in a parallel world, as we were developing the goals for each of these areas, we were also talking about the structure of our organization and what that means. You should see again what that means for our group. And so we ventured off on a governance framework project, and we brought on a consultant who went through each of our members, who interviewed each of our members, and who began to help us draft a charter and membership agreement. And I'm not sure even I don't see you all, so I can't see reactions. But sometimes when I say charter and membership agreement, people kind of get a little squirmy and it feels too much like structure, and you're not going to tell me what to do, sort of thing. But what we ended up finding out, and through this experience, was that we had a lot of different abilities at work. Let's just keep it a loose group. Like we don't need to be formal. We don't need to do this, and it sort of flipped. Because what we've seen in our work is simple questions like, how do you bring somebody new on to the steering team? How do you decide when we produce a playbook that is ready to go out, or that it's ready for this next iteration, or that whatever the decision points were? We had none of that structure other than honestly of the need, just being able to drive it and do it. But that wasn't creating a healthy relationship amongst our community partners. People didn't feel the trust necessarily in that process. And so there was work to be done. So we just like incredibly excited. I actually just had a meeting, great activity here with our head of technology, our school system, that our last organization is signed on, and the signing government membership and charter documents. And so all of our organizations have now signed on in official capacity to be part of, what is and always has been the point of official capacity now, the Charlotte Mecklenburg Digital Inclusion Steering Team. And that there's a membership agreement that goes along with that that's very, you can imagine, I mean, sort of look at it, and I don't see you all, but I sort of imagine all the organizations in the room right now. If you were thinking about doing this, it could be daunting, and I'll be able to admit that it was here. But when we made it through that process, what we're seeing now is there's a clarity to our mission. There's a clarity to the work we do. There's a clarity to the way we engage partners. And what our responsibility is to come to these meetings, to sit in that room, have consistency among the people who show up. I think that's a really critical component is, there was some concern that we came to one meeting and we just come to 3 meetings, we were making decisions and moving things forward, that, if somebody came back to the meeting later and they were like, whoa, what about this and this? Although that is valid, it was throwing a monkey wrench in our ability to move forward at a pace that we really, really wanted to. So the combination of this goal setting and governance project sort of came to a head, finished the goal setting in the first iteration, and we finished in governance at the same time. And then we said, okay, now we're here, where are we going to go in 2017? When are we going to feel comfortable publishing our playbook? And then what is that going to mean in a meaningful way for our community beyond just words on paper? So this year, we have committed to hosting, we'll be at 8, by the time we're done with it, 8 community listening sessions in the next about 4 months for the first sort of part of this year. And those listening sessions are focused on bringing together all of the sort of totality of our community as we look across it and look at the affinity groups that are impacted by the divide. And we basically did some more categorizing those groups using the American Library's report. They have some ways to categorize the community groups. We copied that. And we went through the exercise of the group and said, who are those people? So our 7 listening sessions are focused on, the first one was crossing the divide, crossing the digital divide at 55+, focused on senior citizens, the intersection of digital equity and our senior community. We brought together 30 folks in a 90-minute table conversation, breakfast table conversation. And we had representatives from the city, from the county, from a number of agencies within the county, from our nutrition services to the senior centers. We brought together the North Carolina Broadband Infrastructure Office, came down, the Social Security Administration from the U.S. government was there. They had interest in some new online tools that the Social Security Administration is offering. We had private facilities, private senior facilities, and then we also had senior citizens. And so we're replicating that model over 7 more times, focused on, our next one is on the intersection of digital equity and workforce development and economic mobility. We're doing one on housing and digital equity. We're doing one on non-English speakers or ESL community. We're doing one on, it's originally titled social justice, but the new title is community building and social impact. We're doing one on business and entrepreneurship, and we're doing one on students. Grade 3 to 12 is really what our student focus is going to be. And so we hope to, the results of those number of things. One, building community and building trust. I think that's like the most critical component is building trust with the community so that they begin to hear this language, they begin to see the faces of the people doing the work, not just in the one organization that they were necessarily engaged with, but, pardon me, but that their community as a whole is part of this effort. And it's not just the library, or it's not just KCCDI Drive, or whatever the component is, that all of the community coming together to do this work in a meaningful way. And so that really brings us to today, here on the call with you. And I had been doing some prompt questions that were sent over from your group. So do you want me to stop and take questions now, or do you want me to go to have some sort of specific answers to the 4 questions I was given? What do you all think? I'm sorry, just in case.
Sorry. Let's give people a chance, but I think this is a nice overview of the sort of setup and sort of the coalition administrative level stuff. So I think it makes sense to pause and see if anybody's got any questions on this. Take a couple of them before moving on to the rest. Leslie?
I was wondering if you've engaged with your digital inclusion fellow at the library and also the local workforce development board as far as workforce development activities.
Yeah, both. We have both. So we actually have a seat at the table for our digital inclusion fellows on the steering team. So they participate in those meetings. Both their organizations participate as well as the fellows. And then workforce development boards, actually, we have a growing relationship with those boards. In fact, they're really helping us lead the drive on our upcoming workforce development listening session. So we have I've got about 50 invitations to send out after this call for our session, but they're very engaged and particularly interested in this topic. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here, but clearly digital equity and digital literacy skills are critical to the future of our workforce and preparing our communities for those jobs and to be ready for those jobs, either when they come or right now. In Charlotte, advanced manufacturing is one of our pillar industries that we're looking to continue to grow. So there's a strong commitment from the workforce development agency to participate in this conversation at the highest level. So the head of the main workforce development agency in Charlotte was previously the president of the early care and was on the steering team. So we have a strong commitment from them and from other organizations to participate.
John?
Yes, you spoke about the transition from the challenges of 2016, particularly formalization, and then we kind of moved directly into listening sessions. So I'm kind of interested in what was really the transition from those kind of formalization thoughts to the action of the listening sessions, and then what's kind of the next thing that they expect to occur after those listening sessions?
I don't think you heard the question.
Did you hear that, Bruce?
I think so. If I don't answer it correctly, then tell me that. So the transition, there was fear might be a strong word, but it's not maybe it's pretty accurate. There was fear amongst our group that, we meet in the government center twice a week. And when you look in the room, we have, strong organizations who have direct connections with the community. But we still didn't necessarily have the community's voice unfiltered in that. And, there's a couple of unique things that have happened in Charlotte in that time frame. 2 things in particular. One, Charlotte was named 50th out of 50, the last place in economic mobility for large cities in the United States. The second component was the shooting death of Chief that sparked a in Charlotte. And, through the course of both of those things, there's an incredible amount of energy in our community right now, focused on changing the dynamic around opportunity in this community, and also exposing the reality of systems that have been in place that have, maybe we've kept a lot of people that we're talking about offline, really. And so the listening sessions were a way for us to begin to build that trust in the community, to feel that that the playbook was going to be informed not only by the organizational partners who are doing the work, who are funding the work, and whose voices deserve to be included, but also that we were hearing directly from the community outside of individual organizations to make up the committee. That we were going to convene those folks and we were going to sit in a room together and we were going to say, you tell us, here's some 3 questions to the conversation with, but you tell us what's important. You tell us where we should be focusing our work and our efforts. And we can help inform on, the reality of some of those ideas, or the opportunities in some of those ideas. That we can help triangulate. Really, a lot of what we do is, you're doing this, and you're doing this, and you guys need this, and how do we bring all those pieces together? So that's where we got the listening sessions, and I think the next part of the question was, so where do we go from there? Once we complete the listening session, the idea is that this is not the last time we convene those groups. The idea is that this is the beginning of a relationship with these communities. And so we intend to, in the subsequent years, reconvene those same groups. We believe, just like you guys do, we could produce another version of it, but we believe that the playbook is a living, breathing document. And it needs to be constantly nurtured, constantly updated, as close to constant time. We're routinely, regularly updated, and informed by the community that we're looking to serve. So in August, when we publish the playbook, is our objective. We will go on a tour, a promotional tour to the end of the year, podcasting that, sharing the findings of the playbook, talking about the plays that we've discovered, that we've uncovered, and talking about our aspirational plays. And then we will likely reconvene in the early part of next year and sort of look at the total of the data from 2017, from our listening sessions, from our playbook tour, and from the feedback from our community, decide where we put our efforts going forward. As a committee, and I think it's really critical, there's even within that committee, there are organizations who are constantly moving the needle forward. And so our committee work is more focused on inserting this frame of thinking everywhere in our community, so that our work is less about the tactical, programmatic components of it, but more about the overarching way that our community addresses this issue, thinks about this issue, talks about it from a political perspective, talks about it from a business leadership perspective. That's really where we're leaning in on right now. While the individual organizations are leaning in on the programmatic element. So we're learning from these listening sessions, even just from the senior listening session we did, we learned about all this opportunity to align the resources we already have with some opportunities with the Esselman County, who has direct access to a number of these populations. And so now we're triangulating the service provider partner or partners. How do we bring these 3 folks together to do this work? And then they'll figure that out at the organizational level, and the steering team will convene to support that work, to bring other resources to bear, or to just, be more supporting the process.
Bill?
2-part question around digital equity as your descriptor. You mentioned Seattle, and so I'm interested in, do you have a set of benchmark cities that you're following as peers? And the second part is that Seattle's adopted a pretty strong social justice-centered definition of digital equity. Can you say a little bit about how you have defined that term, or if you have?
So peer cities, of and getting some questions, but even just continuing to build this relationship, we feel that that's a place that we need to make sure, especially over the next 4 years, that our advocacy and our ability to communicate as cities directly is really critical in that process.
Cool. Thank you. You want to go ahead and hit the second part of your presentation? How are you on time?
It's Friday, so I can be here all day. I can do this really quick.
Okay, great.
Okay, so the first question that I got from you guys was what needs, what successes are rising to the top? And I had two things that really jumped out at me. Was the breadth of organizations in our community who are interested in deploying some sort of digital equity, digital, either access, technology, or training, who are interested in being engaged in that space. So organizations who on face value might have nothing to do with anything digital, but because of the nature of the populations that they serve, or by the nature of the work that they do, they clearly see this problem. So refugee support services, we don't have a lot of face-to-face with clients. However, they have an incredible need because the number of services and programs that community has an opportunity to take advantage of all typically on the digital world. So we have this growing relationship with a number of these similar organizations. How do we support their ability to stand up programs in a sustainable way so that we can really think about, representing organizations, sort of putting on the ground and saying, come to us with training. I think that's important. There's a key anchor, library, we need to keep that as champions, and are those champions, really. But even in those smaller, neighborhood level organizations where they have such amazing trust with these communities, so that's a success. I think it's a success that we're seeing here in Charlotte. The number of organizations who are disconnected from this work but are becoming connected. No pun intended. I'm not sure if this is a neat skill of success, but the other thing I wrote down was that skills must always be related to an opportunity. And I think where I'm going with that is we have anecdotally been in the room with folks, and we're talking about this opportunity. We're talking about digital equity. We're talking about lives, digital inclusion. Do you have a computer? Do you have internet access? Do you have the skills? And it's really none of that. It's really I want to talk to my grandkids. I want to be able for my health records to be transferred to my other doctor. I want to be able to, I hear all these advertisements about telehealth, but I have to, as a two-generation family, a grandmother who's taking care of grandkids, I have to get on a bus to go to my doctor twice a month, and it's not a long bus ride. What if one of those trips I could, stay home and use a device or go to the library, whatever the case may be. So we find that across the community, the less we talk about digital inclusion, and the more we talk about it through the lens of opportunity and specific opportunities for the community or for individuals, we find a much higher uptake, much higher interest rate, much higher engagement rate, because then that's in a instant gratification world, there's direct connection. And so as one of our messages in Mexico says, how do I get spinach in a brownie? That's really what we think of. The digital literacy in many ways is like spinach, but the brownie is the ability to talk to your grandkids. The brownie is the ability to comment on a public meeting and know that your city government is going to hear you and respond back. So the next question, biggest challenges we're facing, I think I started talking about that pretty clearly, is membership involvement, really making people feel vested and valued, that their time is right when they give it, when we show up to these meetings, that you all feel like you're gaining some value, or hopefully you feel that way today. Building trust the movement. We're really doing this, go slow to go long, and go together to go long. I mean, we're really building this playbook across all the organizations, a lot of different input, so that can be challenging, as I'm sure you can all imagine. And so building trust in this process is a big challenge for us. And then, actually, with listening, when I got the call, somebody made this comment right before, and I quickly wrote it down because I thought it was a fantastic point, and one we're hearing a lot. So for biggest challenges, especially post-November last year, is privacy and security. That conversation has just been lit on fire, in the last few months, and so that is a really key. It was always important in our work. We had that conversation, especially in communities that have historically felt distrust or have not had a reason to trust these organizations and entities that are coming together to do this work. So we're really going to focus heavily on privacy and security in probably the second half of 2017 in terms of working with our partners to deploy more programming in that space, building out resources and things like that for that space. Okay, my next question was something about resources. Besides the medium opposition, what are the resources other support systems in the community that are making a difference? Is there strong city involvement? Okay, so part one, I would say the library has been an incredible champion. Just has such a tremendous respect for the work we do here, and I'm sure you all do as well, considering I'm doing the Apple Library right now. Really just understand that we've been doing this work for 30 years, and the librarians, the people involved, they're just so in tune to the needs of the community in a way that very few other organizations are. So they're an incredible partner. Our philanthropic community has been engaged very heavily in supporting the work we're doing and continuing to do. And then our city has a strong city involvement, but what the opportunity there is to spread that across the organization. So we have neighborhood services, which is where our community engagement team sit, and they're very heavily engaged in the work. The mayor is informed on our work and is close to us. But there's a difference between people being informed and being engaged and really leaning in. And we have some opportunity there here in Charlotte to get our city government to lean in a little bit more, and we're working heavily on that. In fact, I don't know if he's there, but Rick, if you're there, we're going to try to bring you to Charlotte to do some work on this. Hopefully we can work out schedules.
Hey Bruce, let me cut in. Yeah. Can you hear me? This is Tom Esselman with Connecting for Good, and I'm kind of playing the sergeant at arms today for our meeting, but it was kind of fortuitous what you just said, because the next person on our agenda that we wanted to get to before we end this meeting is some work that Rick Usher is going to be sharing with us. So I just thought, at the risk of being rude to you, which I didn't mean to be if it came across that way, I found your comments to be just phenomenally insightful and pretty inspiring too. I think given the fact that you came on board a year or two after some of the initial efforts got underway. And what really struck me, and I don't know about the rest of you guys in the room, but hearing you talk about the voice of the community and the breadth of organizations that are participating, and I just wanted to call that out, because one of the things Rick's going to talk to us about is this digital inclusion strategic plan that the city's adopting, and more importantly, how do we define the work that we do as a coalition of organizations? We've had some input in previous meetings about, can we get a better inroad into the voice of the community by maybe holding these meetings closer to where the clients we serve are? Well, we're taking that seriously, but I think what we mainly want is to make sure the breadth of organizations who are doing some kind of work in this field use these gatherings as a time and a place to share what's going on and to share what they're learning about the voice of the community that they're interacting with on a day-to-day basis. So we're finding it difficult to position our coalition as a body that goes out and does the work. But maybe we'll get there someday. It's a good aspiration. What we want to get to, and what I know Rick's going to lead us on a short exercise, is making sure that every member of the coalition, no matter what size you are, how small, how new, how old, that you use this gathering as a way so that collectively we can get at that voice of the community. So I just applaud you for just the insights you shared and the segue that it gave us to the kinds of things that we're focusing on. So a big round of applause for you.
Hey Bruce, Rick Usher here. So that, who remembers the 20th, Google Fiber City, wasn't a jab at Charlotte. That was a jab at one of our suburban communities. It got a little snarky, self-entitled. But you're welcome to stay with us for a minute if you want. This is on Facebook Live at our coalition Facebook page. And then Tom, I thought to make so I can shut that off in a minute. I'll talk a bit about our equity plan. If you want to do the last two items, then I'll shut that off when we do our exercise. But so as Tom pointed out, and I'll be quick, yesterday McLean Bryant and I, she's in the mayor's office, we made a presentation to the city council on our digital equity strategic plan. It's out right now for review of our priority pathways at My Sidewalk. There's links to that are out on social media, and we can share them further. We're planning 4 community sessions that'll be coming up. We'll get an agenda out of those. And I'd like to just give a shout out to Catherine Golden, who's watching on Facebook Live, and McLean, who I believe is still watching on Facebook Live. So as we're pushing digital inclusion, we have to practice digital engagement. And I'm hoping Lazone Gray, our friend in Topeka, will join us. He was following along on Twitter, I think, a minute ago. But the plan, it lays out a path for from digital inclusion to economic mobility. We've got, thanks for bringing that up. This is the site at KC Momentum. So we're asking for comment on these 6 pathways, which are using the internet initially as a consumer. So that's connectivity, a device, basic training on how to use the internet, and then how to participate in the internet community. Then using the internet for educational purposes, moving on to civic engagement, which is what we're seeking here, the community feedback online. We also know we have to do that in person, so that's why we have like this meeting and the 4 sessions coming up next week. And then there'll also be a city council neighborhood committee hearing on that as well. Then in the pathway you move to employment, using the internet for employment. So with high-speed access at home, there's unlimited home-based business opportunities, home-based employment opportunities out there. And then lastly, for small business creation, job creation, entrepreneurship, that you can become a job creator through your internet connectivity. And I'm sorry, that's not the last. The last is this collaboration, which we just witnessed here. Thanks, Aaron, for bringing Bruce in on this. Digital inclusion is a team sport. We got a great team here in Kansas City, and we've got connectivity nationally. So I'm looking forward to what we'll be able to do here in 2017. And I'd love to get out to Charlotte. My dad's in Wilmington, so maybe he can sneak up to see me. You want to do that last piece? And then we'll...
Okay. So we're just going to slightly shift around the agenda so that Rick can help us finish off with an exercise. But I just want to make 2 announcements, and they're really apropos to what Rick was just talking about, and this idea that we've got a local foundation but a national presence. This year, the National Digital Inclusion Alliance Summit is going to take place May 16th and 17th in St. Paul, Minnesota. A mere 6.5-hour drive, depending on your speed. Maybe 7-hour drive from Kansas City. One of the things I'm going to be doing is trying to organize a road trip and try to secure as broad participation among members of the Kansas City Digital Inclusion Coalition as possible. Just wanted to give you a quick update on it. They're just getting ready to introduce a web page, the NDIA, and you have to put in National Digital Inclusion Alliance. You can't put in NDIA.org because it's going to take you to a defense site. So, but anyway, May 16th and 17th, some information has been published. Registration, if you're a nonprofit, but you're not a subscriber, it's $175. If you're a for-profit, it's $250. Early bird, which ends April 6th, will be $130. If you're a subscriber and it's early bird, it's only $110. So it's pretty affordable, and I'd be willing to take the task of collaborating and coordinating anybody that wants to share a ride. We may get some support from the ATA. We may get some support from the ATA through some support from the city to organize a bus or a van to take people up there. So I'll be your point person. Spread the news. Anybody that wants to attend that summit, May 16th and 17th. And the second announcement has to do with a couple of awards that are recognized by a group called Next Century Cities. And every year, Next Century Cities recognizes digital cities that are exhibiting either best practices for digital inclusion activities or most promising new program ideas. The only caveat is you have to be a city employee to apply for this award. It's not a monetary award, but it's huge recognition, and you do get travel and accommodations to attend the awards ceremony in Washington, D.C. But I'm speaking to you on behalf of my good friend and colleague Rick Usher from the city, and he said if you've got an idea that qualifies in your organization or what you're doing in digital inclusion work as either best practice or most promising new program, get with Rick. He will write a collaborative entry on behalf of the city of Kansas City.
So you write the collaborative entry, we'll review it.
He will submit the entry on behalf of a partnership with you. That's what I mean to say. And
Who takes the trip, Rick?
What's that?
Who takes the trip?
That will be negotiable. But seriously, you can go on the Next Century Cities website. There's full profiles of past award winners, the kinds of things that they're looking for. It would be a great way to showcase on a national level kind of what Bruce was just talking about. Not only the voice of our community, but the breadth of organizations and ideas that come out of Kansas City. So those are my two announcements. I'll hand it back to Rick.
Thanks, Tom. And just in light of time, there's a worksheet on your tables. Maybe you've already started looking at this project program survey. We were trying to carry, our chair has come up with this idea of using part of our session as a working session. So this is information, a worksheet that Aaron's folks put together that'll help us document the work that you're doing. So, let's jump into that. And if there's any questions while we're going on, if you can work collaboratively at your tables. But it's mainly information on what your organization is doing. And then I suppose at some point we'll publish this at the what's the website again? Include KC?
Digital Inclusion KC.
Digital Inclusion KC.
Maybe it should be Include KC.
ORG. Yeah. So those of you watching at home, thanks a lot. Our next meeting is March 3rd, so tune in again on Facebook Live, and that's going to be signing out in a second. But thanks, everybody.
So just to reiterate, if you could take some time to fill this out here, that would be an expedient thing. If you'd rather get it in digital form, we'll send out a digital version of it. But,
and I will say, some of you may have seen this before, this is the second version of a digital inclusion resource survey that we're doing. So we have a number of the organizations in here completed this, I think it was 2 years ago.